we must understand Keeladi very well. And that is what we will do. In Tamil Nadu, there seems to be a urban settlement on the banks of the Vaigai River. We know it is urban based on the architecture and the layout of the archaeological site. They were doing water management. They had step wells, they had wells, they had ponds, they had sewage systems. Um, there were industrial units where they were making beads. There were industrial units where they were making black and red pottery, the same pottery that is found in Harappa. Timeline of Indian history is changing. And that's what today's video is about. We want to talk about how the changing timeline is shaking up and why there's so much of political conversation happening.
Excavations at archaeological sites are important not just to know what is found and what is not. It is important because we get to know to connect the dots, the historical dots. Keeladi excavation in Tamil Nadu is one such important archaeological site. But what to know about it, let's understand from Devdutt Pattanaik in our today's episode of Art and Culture with Devdutt Pattanaik. Hello everyone, I am Manas. Welcome to this new episode of Art and Culture with Devdutt Pattanaik. Now there has been one news which has been hitting the headlines for a long time. So what was once a very quiet village on the banks of the rivers Vagai in Tamil Nadu is today emerging as one of the most significant archaeological sites in India. This is excavation in Keeladi, which has revealed the existence of an advanced urban settlement, possibly going back to around 8th to 5th century BC. Now, the thrill of the discovery has been marred by unseemly politicking and a lot of political debate around it. But what is important is to keep politics aside and understand excavation at this site, what is found, but more importantly, how to understand history when an archaeological site is excavated. Keeladi is one example, the current example through which you can understand that point. So Devdutt, my first question to you is the very simple question, the starting question which students or viewers should know, that what is this excavation, where is the site?
So, what is Keeladi excavation site? First of all, it is a prehistoric site which has been it's an archaeological site that has been found in the Vaigai River basin. Where is Vaigai River? Vaigai River is in Tamil Nadu, south of Kaveri. Kaveri River basin is famous for the Chola kings. The Chola kings lived 1,000 years ago, but the site we are talking about, Keeladi, is dated to 2,800 years ago, so before the Buddhist period. Now, the amazing thing about the Keeladi site is that they found a few carbon samples, and this was sent to Miami, Florida, in the USA, where they used the latest technology. You must have heard of carbon 14 and carbon dating technology. This is the most advanced technology known as AMS, which is accelerator mass spectrometry, and that is a technique that was used based on which they believe that these sites could be as old as 800 BC. And 800 BC is roughly the time that painted grey ware pottery was found in the Gangetic Plain, replacing the earlier black red pottery, indicating the late Vedic age.
Thank you, Devdutt. Now, definitely there is a lot to talk about this particular site. We cannot do it in one episode, so we'll do multiple episodes on it. But before going ahead, before going to the core of the discussion, let us first also know from you that what is found in this excavation, which will, kind of take us forward to the other part of the discussion.
So while the late Vedic age is happening in the Ganga River basin in Tamil Nadu, there seems to be a urban settlement on the banks of the Vaigai River. We know it is urban based on the architecture and the layout of the archaeological site. They were doing water management. They had step wells, they had wells, they had ponds, they had sewage systems. They were industrial units where they were making beads. There were industrial units where they were making black and red pottery, the same pottery that is found in Harappa. They have found trade goods like shell bangles and carnelian red seeds. A carnelian is found only in Gujarat, and carnelian beads, etched carnelian beads, were used in the Indus Valley civilization and traded with Mesopotamia. It is this carnelian bead is found in Keeladi, indicating trade links with the Gujarat region. So these were trading people. They had an urban settlement. They knew water management. They used pottery similar to the Indus people. Now remember, Indus Valley civilization, when we are saying 2000 BC, when I'm telling Keeladi, it is 800 BC. So there's a 1200-year gap, lots of gaps. So are they connected? But these are questions that we must ask. And then, most interestingly, is that iron has been found here. Iron instruments have been found here, and this makes it very interesting because this iron is not just found in 800 BC in the Tamil Nadu region. There are megalithic sites where iron has been found that have been dated as early as 3000 BC. And this iron doesn't contain nickel, which means it is not from a meteor, but it has actually been smelted out of rocks. Now, this technology was believed to be around 1000 BC. Until recent times, everybody believed it is 1000 BC. Rig Veda doesn't mention um, iron, but Atharva Veda does. It calls it Krishna Ayas, and that is considered to be 1000 BC. And there are some sites in Gangetic, eastern part of the Ganga River basin, where iron has been found to 1000 BC, but 3000 BC is very early, suggesting that iron was available in South India a long time in this site. This is sort of creating stirs in the archaeological world because the timeline of Indian history is changing.
Devdutt, keeping the politics aside, can you throw some light on why Keeladi excavation is shaking India's history?
That's what today's video is about. We want to talk about how the changing timeline is shaking up and why there's so much of political conversation happening between Delhi and Tamil Nadu government. The Archaeological Society of India has been pulled up. People are asking questions, and that is a very awkward position. We should not get into the politics of it, but it is something to be considered. Remember, the definition of science is you must begin with doubt, there must be measurement, there must be verifiability, experimentation for verifiability. And scientific knowledge keeps expanding over time. This is why it is not a religion or a faith. A religion, faith, myth, belief does not change over time. It is based on faith, uh, while a scientific knowledge is based on doubt, it is based on measurement, and it is continuously expanding. And our knowledge of history, prehistory of India is expanding because we're using a scientific method where a lot of measurement is used, lots of evidence is used. Ideology doesn't play an important role. And keeping that in mind, we must understand Keeladi very well. And that is what we will do.
Thank you, Devdutt. So we've covered, in a way, the most objective parts of this particular discussion, which involves that where is the site, what is found, and what is the debate around. But the other important part of any archaeological excavation is to understand history through it. Uh, it is often said that archaeology is the handmaiden of history. Well, it is always debatable whether we should call it that way or not. But connecting the dots through the archaeological evidences is very important. So, if you can help us to connect the history through this excavation or through this site. Where should we begin from, and where does it lead to? How does it lead to Keeladi?
So let's begin with the elephant in the room, the Vedic age. Now, um, the Vedic age is interesting, most important period in Indian history, because most Hindus believe that Hinduism began from the Vedas. And the Vedas, how do you date the Vedas, has always been a challenge. Now, for me, the simplest way to date is the fact that the Vedas contain poetry which refer to horses. Ashwa. Almost 200 times the word horse has been used. The word for horse is found more number of times than the word for cow and cattle, and even more than the word dharma. So horses are the most important thing in the Rig Veda. The second thing is it speaks of chariots, ratha. Now this is the most important point in the Rig Veda. Why am I saying this? Now let's begin at the very beginning. And Indian history typically begins with conversations on the Harappan civilization, formerly known as the Indus Valley civilization. Now, the Indus Valley civilization, the major sites, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, are in Pakistan. But after independence, lots of archaeological work was done in India, and more sites of that period have been found in the Gujarat coast, in Haryana, in Rajasthan, and most interestingly, in Pakistan, they found sites in the middle of the desert which indicated the presence of a long lost river that we now believe is the Ghagara Hakra River, which once flowed, which perhaps had a continuous water stream or a stream enough to sustain urban settlements, but then it dried out, and that's the mythical river Saraswati mentioned later in the Rig Veda, whose memory is there even today, that there was a river called Saraswati which flowed from the Himalayas towards Gujarat, but which disappeared in the desert. Now, so many things to unpack over here. It can get a little confusing, but let's begin. We will zero in on the Vedic age and horses. Why are we talking about Harappa? Because Harappa is 4,500 years ago. Fourth, it's peaks between 4,500 years and 4,000 years ago. So 2,500 BC to 2000 BC. Now that's an easy to remember. Exact dates people will argue, but if you remember this 2500 BC to 2000, it is easy to remember. Now this is 2500 BC is an important date globally because that is when the pyramids were built. The pyramids were built at that time. Egypt did not have a direct connection with Mesopotamia, but in Mesopotamia, ziggurats were built. And Mesopotamia, where ziggurats were built, had trade links with the Indus River. People would sail along the coast and trade with Indus. What did they trade? They traded lapis lazuli. Where did lapis lazuli come from? It came from Afghanistan. So from Afghanistan down the Indus River, up the Makran coast and the Persian Gulf. This was the most important trade. They also had other beads. These beads would be manufactured in these cities. So lapis lazuli was being taken across. Carnelian was taken across. Carnelian is red colored stone found in Gujarat. So from Afghanistan, from Gujarat, these beads were being made in these cities and taken to Harappa. But this is called the Bronze Age. Now, bronze is made using copper and you mix it with tin. Where is copper found? Copper is found in India in the Aravalli region, so in Rajasthan. Copper is found in Central Asia. Copper is found in Oman. But tin is only found in Central Asia. There is no tin available in India, which means the Harappans had a monopoly on bronze. They could get copper from Aravalli, tin from Central Asia. Now, in Central Asia is I also will use the word Oxus River. In Central Asia is the Oxus River. Now, there's the Hindu Kush mountain which separates India from Central Asia. The river Oxus flows out of the Hindu Kush towards the Aral Sea. Now, that's an important river to remember. We'll come to it later. So, you have this Hindu Kush mountain, very difficult to cross. people would travel across this Hindu Kush to Afghanistan to get lapis lazuli. They would get tin. They would bring it to the river, Indus River. The lapis lazuli will turn into beads. The tin will be mixed with copper to create bronze, and then carnelian would be taken from Gujarat, and of course, cotton, which was being grown in Gujarat, would have been carried along with, of course, other exotic items like the peacock, like the chicken. And these are chicken, peacock, dog, buffalo, maybe even the elephant was being taken from Indus River to Mesopotamia. Now, what is interesting is I did not mention the horse. So in the Bronze Age, there were no horses anywhere in the world. There were carts which were solid wheels, which were heavy carts, wagons which were pulled by bullocks. India had bullocks. Maybe wild donkeys were being used to pull, but they're very difficult to control. The wild donkeys, so it is to be remembered that there are some donkey like animals found in Mesopotamia, but not horses. Some people have claimed that bones of horses have been found in Harappan civilization. That is all rubbish. It is not true. It is, we have only found maybe donkey bones, but there were no images. No lions also. So no lion. It is only tiger country. This is, seals were being used. And of course, people will say that the script is probably Sanskrit. It is not. It's like an emoji. They were like watermarks. The dhobi ka watermark jo hota hai, it is used for that. It was not using any, it is probably not a language. I mean, people argue about it, but I'm fairly convinced it was just an emoji used for trading goods. It's a trading thing. But one day, what happened is the people in the Oxus civilization, that is west of the Hindu Kush, they found a route to travel to Mesopotamia bypassing Harappa. They said, why should we take the tin to Harappa? Let us take it directly to Mesopotamia. We can take lapis lazuli also directly to Mesopotamia. We don't need the Harappan merchants, which means the Harappan business collapsed. So the supply side was affected because tin was not available anymore. Lapis lazuli perhaps was not available. And simultaneously, there were events in Mesopotamia. We know the old Sumerian culture collapsed and a new empire known as Akkadian Empire emerges. And probably at a demand side also, the business collapsed. Maybe there was climate change which was also affecting this time. The agricultural output was going down. All this, so agriculture, there is a climate change, there is a reduction in supply, there is a reduction in demand. All that leads to the collapse of the Indus Valley civilization or the Harappan civilization. Although there is continuity, I mean, the cities of course don't die away because most of the local people had enough food to eat. There's water. The trading communities collapsed, the local people lived over there. But the experts, those who knew pottery, those who knew how to make beads, the traders, where did they go is a mystery. And some people have proposed at least one section of these people may have traveled along the coast down from Gujarat, Maharashtra, Konkan to Tamil Nadu. That's one thesis. But who knows? It's a great thesis. There is a very famous book written from Indus to the Vaigai, which suggests that even though it is separated by 1500 years and 1500 miles, Indus, there are memories of the Indus Valley civilization in Vaigai. So from Indus Valley to Vaigai, Vaigai is where Keeladi is found. So after 1500 years, the claim is that these people moved here. There are lots of memories over there, in the Sangam Tamil poetry which was written. And so, I mean, that's a hypothesis, very good ideas, but the jury's out there. But it means that around 2000 BC, the Indus cities are dying. And then what happens?
Thank you, Devdutt, for explaining that to us. Now, students, we are going to take a slow pace to understand or to uncover this whole Keeladi excavation and things related to it, because in the process, you will revise various aspects of history, the ancient history and culture, and you will see the connections. So in the coming episodes, we are going to dive deep into this particular topic, and don't forget to view or go and revise the other episodes of Art and Culture with Devdutt Pattanaik. Also, follow our initiatives of UPSC Essentials, which you will find on the indianexpress.com. Do follow or subscribe the magazine, and do let us know what else you want to know or you want us to do for you, so that your journey for your civil services exam preparation becomes smooth, interesting, and knowledgeable. That's all from me today. As I always say, think smart, work hard, conquer your goal. Bye.